Good afternoon, guys. Dr. Ken Nordberg here with another deer hunting seminar for you. This one's going to be kind of different. I'm 85 years old. And here I am. I'm already getting ready to go deer hunting. It's just about September 1st. That's really not too soon, but I hate waiting till the last minute to get ready to go because darn, every year, when I used to do such a thing, it turned out, oh, it's going to cost too much. I can't afford that right now. And so I like to get some of the more costly things out of the way early so I don't have to hold back on whatever I think I need to go deer hunting. And of course, you know and I know we all think we need more than we really need, but some things are important. Like say, I just bought a new truck. Well, it isn't. It's not a 2020 truck. It's a used truck, but beautiful condition. A pickup. I've been driving pickups for 50 years, and you know why? Because my vehicle has to be a deer hunting vehicle. I have to be able to drive it 300 miles to some deep wilderness oil, take some backwoods road that you can hardly tell is a road anymore. It's brush, something to get out, saw trees that have fallen off across the road, and brush cut it so they don't knock mirrors off the side of my truck, things like that. And this old road with mud holes in it, and up and down steep grades. You get a steep grade there that has snow on it. If you don't have four-wheel drive, you're not going to get up that steep grade. You're going to just be spinning your tires there. You're not going to, my vehicle has to be able to get me in and out of places like that. There's been times when we had 2 feet of snow the night before it was time to break camp to go home. And I break trail all the way out to the main road, which in itself is a gravel country road that goes all through wilderness area, and it isn't even plowed yet when we get out there. And I want a truck that's with tires on it that are going to enable me to get out and go down that road until I finally hit a plowed road to go home. And just any old car or any old vehicle isn't going to work that way. It's got to be a good, tough pickup with all the things you need for that. So I don't buy a new fancy car with all the bells and whistles. I drive a pickup that can pull a trailer and handle a big load in the box and even in the cab. This year I got a 4-door cab. I got a crew cab. And that inner part is going to be an important part of the cargo. I was going to carry an important part of the cargo that I'm going to take to deer camp this year. So I got this thing. It doesn't have a topper on it. And geez, toppers nowadays are costing as much as $2 grand. I can't afford to add that to what I've already spent this year, so I'm putting a tonneau cover. I ordered one of those. It'll arrive at my house on Thursday. Tomorrow, I'm getting new tires for this truck, and they're all train tires. They're good for snow and mud. These are tires that are going to be made for that kind of thing, that are relatively quiet on the road and give me. These are 65,000 mile tires. Spend a little extra money, although I got a good deal on them. I'm always looking for good deals when it comes to tires, which I did. So they'll be on my truck tomorrow, these new tires. And so that was quite an expenditure for deer hunting. My wife and I did a lot of traveling before she died, and pulling a travel trailer, usually along the Mexican border, Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona, and California even. And during the winter months, we'd be there 3.5 months at least, sometimes less when tornadoes chased us out of Texas, and sometimes longer when the weather was particularly nice. But a lot of time there. We put 20,000 miles on that one trip with that, and pulling a trailer. So just an ordinary car was never good enough. We had to have a pickup that could handle those kind of things. So my vehicles are deer hunting vehicles first. And if they got lots of other things on there, that's fine. I don't care about that. But it's first a deer hunting vehicle. And and they got a good deal on the used one, and it's a beautiful truck. It's like new. So I'm really happy with it. But so I did that as far as truck is concerned. And I bought other things this year because we're going to have more tents in deer camp because of, this terrible disease going around. I won't get into that, but we're going to have 5 tents in deer camp this year. So I got another tent. This one's a 12 by 12 tent, kind that's proven. It's like a square teepee, 9 feet tall at the peak. That kind of a tent that I bought is proven to be really good in snow country. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's wet snow or blowing snow, it slides off. I mean, it sheds snow like no tent I've ever had. So for a small tent, that's really kind of a nice tent to have. I've had some small tents. We've been camping like this since in the 1960s, the early 1960s, in tents. I've had lots of tents absolutely destroyed by heavy wet snow. Just smashed the things, the poles, rips, canvas, just terrible. So it took many years to finally get around to the point where I have tents that can handle that kind of a problem and keep us nice and warm in the coldest weather, and wind, and stand up in wind, and all those kind of things. So I got another one that kind of a tent, one of these square teepee things, and so that cost a little money too. And when I got my new tent, I had to get a heater. And our big tents, we have big barrel type wood stoves. And they do a wonderful job keeping those, but can't put one of those in a 10 by 10 or 12 by 12 tent. So, but they got these new heaters now that are safe inside with oxygen sensors on them. And so I had to get a new one of those, and I got the bigger one. It puts out 18,000 BTUs. I figure in the morning when I get up, I don't keep it on at night. I turn it off when I go to bed. I like it to be cold in there at night, and I got a sleeping bag that's good for 20 below. And so it can be as cold as it wants out there, and I won't get cold at night. But in the morning when I get out, that's a different thing. Well, that thing, I just have to press down, turn the knob, and poof, it goes on, putting out 18,000 BTUs, and in a tent like a 10 by 10 or 12 by 12, boy, it's going to be warm in there in minutes. And then I can turn it back to a lower setting to keep it warm, but not excessively warm. And that thing is going to last me the whole year, the whole 2 weeks I'm there in camp in a 20-gallon tank. And I had to get all the connections to go with it. So I put a lot of thought into that heater. Yeah, and I just had to get it. And that just had to be part of what I was going to use this year. So other guys that might be using single tents, they're going to have to get their own heaters. But that's a good thing to have at home. You can use that if you got to work on your truck or something else out in the garage in the winter, and take that heater and turn it on, warm it up out there, and that would be kind of a handy thing to have at home. So even if you lost all your power and it's cold, you can even use that indoors. You can buy little separate tanks for them, put them in there, and you can warm up a room or two in your house and be comfortable, like in your kitchen while the power's off. Might come in handy over your lifetime many times. So good to have extra thing. Not just for deer hunting. Remind your wife of that when you get one. Oh yeah, we'll need that. First, you'll talk about that. Well, anyway, there was that. So, a couple of years ago I bought a new cook stove. Oh, it's a dandy cook stove. It's propane, 3-burner. We're gonna have 3 burners, and you gotta be able to put some big pans on there, because when you're cooking for 12, 14 guys, that's a lot of food, and they're hungry. Yeah. They've been deer hunting all day. When their evening meal comes, you got to have lots of food to be able to keep these guys well fed. And so that, and a special table for my newest big tent. It's a 20 by 12 tent, and a big folding table that acts as our kitchen counter area and store things underneath there, like our big water, 5-gallon water jugs, and other, the different foods, and great big cook kit with all the stuff that we put in there. So I had to do that, and then of course when you get a new stove, you have to get all the connections that go to propane tanks outside. We'll be bringing, probably 4 20-pound propane tanks to camp this year. A few years ago, I bought a frame of a trailer, steel frame with the wheels and fenders, and built a wooden box for it. And this box and this trailer was made for deer hunting, for hauling everything we need in our big deer camps out in the woods, out in the wilderness, where we just can't go to the store every day and get things. We bring everything in there. We can stay there the whole time for 2 weeks. Never have to leave there to buy anything. Everything is with us when we go there. So I spent by building that trailer myself, I saved some money, but still, it's a really good trailer. Which reminds me, I got to re-grease those bearings on that trailer this year. I've gone north too many times where I've seen somebody's trailer on the side there with that bare spindle, sticking out, and it's just sitting there with somebody's their hunting gear in that trailer. And obviously what happened there, they burned out a bearing on that trailer. And boy, are they going to have trouble trying to find what they need to fix that thing. You get the right bearings for that particular trailer and get it all put back together again out there on the road, by the side of the road. You have to do it there. You have to be handy. You have to know how to do it. Get the old race out of there. Old races, knock those out, put in new races and bearings, and grease them properly, and then put everything back together and get that proper tension on that big nut that holds the wheel on. It can't be too tight or too loose. That'd be just right. You have to know how to do those things. And anyway, yeah, I've spent money. I just bought a new adapter where you plug into the trailer connection. I got on my new truck, I plugged in. It's got a 7-pole hook up there for a big travel trailer, and you put an adapter and you shove that in, and then I got a I got the 4-prong connection for my utility trailer, so I don't need that, but I had to get a new one of those because I'm selling my old truck, and I'm leaving the trailer connections on there, and even the ball hitch, because that'll be a good selling point on it. But here I am. At my age, I'm all excited. I can't wait to go to him. There's a big buck out there I especially would like to take this year. He taught me a lot in the last 2 years about where and how I should be hunting him, and I can't wait to put my plans, get things worked out, get it all set up to hunt this big buck this year. But there's a lot about you can never put all your marbles on one buck. You always got to have some backups. And most of the time we know of at least 3 or 4 bucks, mature bucks, anywhere from 3.5 to 6.5 years of age, that we can hunt instead. And it happens so often. Finally, that buck has taught you, you don't have a chance. You can't get me, and they prove it, and you finally throw in the towel and go hunt another buck. And I've done that quite a few times and been really successful. The next morning I got the other buck, and it was a pretty decent one. So you have to be prepared for that. So that takes a lot of time too. Scouting time. I'm gonna get out there, and each one of us, my 3 sons and I, each one of us will have 3 or 4 bucks to hunt every season. So backups. And it isn't working out for this one, or maybe one of my sons got the buck I was planning to take. That happens often, too often, and there's always a lot of laughing that goes with that. And so anyway, so you have to have other bucks to hunt. Otherwise, the worst thing is to sit there and say, where in the devil am I going to hunt tomorrow, where I have a good chance to take a buck? I never want to be caught not knowing where to go the next morning. Never. And we do that. We accomplish that every year. We always have other places that we can go hunt other bucks. So that takes a lot of scouting. I figure we'll spend, at least 2 long weekends scouting this year. Maybe as long as 4 days each, or 3.5 days. Go up in the evening, late in the day one day, and then scout the next 3 days and go home. But that's kind of a common procedure. But at the end of that 3 days, we'll say, oh, geez, we're going to come back and do some more. And I'm already put together a list of what I'm going to take for scouting trips. Like the new 12 by 12 tent I just bought. Well, I'll have to break that in, and we'll take that up, and all the gear that goes with it for living there. Including a portable latrine and the cooking gear and that kind of thing, and cots. I'll be using a regular cot. My big tent, I always have a bunk cot. I sleep on the bottom bunk cot, and so I won't be using the bunk cot this year, and so the bunk cot will be there. It's handy, but I'm going to be on a single new cot this year. It's really a dandy. It opens up, and then it's a foot pedal to tighten it, one on each end. A nice new kind of cot. And I've slept in on already one night, and it's comfortable. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'll be putting a full mattress on it for comfort and to keep warm. I won't have cold air coming up at me from the bottom. These are all things you think about, beforehand. And I have so much experience. I'm getting prepared for deer hunting. And I always start early. And when you start early, like for example, I look at that truck. It's almost like I am deer hunting now. I am getting ready right now. This is all part of the program. I've often said the 2 most enjoyable parts of deer hunting are one is preparing and dreaming about it beforehand. And that includes the scouting period. That's one part. That's an enjoyable part. Scouting is the real hunt, and when you're standing on it, just sitting somewhere waiting for a buck to come along, like you figured would come along because of what you learned with scouting. You're not really hunting, and you're just sitting there. The hunting part is when you're scouting. That's a really important part of buck hunting. But that's half of the most fun parts of deer hunting. The other half is talking about it afterwards and writing about it. And the part in between is mostly hard work. And it is. But you love it anyway, no matter how tough it is, because it's been in my blood. I was probably born with the inclination to be a deer hunter, to be a hunter. My great-grandparents were hunters back in the Scandinavian countries, hunting moose and other animals. That's been part of me. It probably goes back to 1,000 years. My ancestors were probably all hunters and fishermen as well. And so it's been a part of me. And when you get close like this, here we're coming up on September 1st, all that stuff in me that makes me the hunter I am wakes up, and I can't help but being happy and smiling now and thinking about it, and I forgot that, I got to take care of this and that. And so finally when it comes time to load up, everything's ready. And I'm get together with my boys from here on. We're going to be talking deer hunting all the time. We're going to get on the phone and talk to them. We'll be talking deer hunting all the time. And I sent them pictures of my new pickup, and they're all saying, they're all right away saying, thinking, that's going to be great for deer hunting. And that's kind of vehicle Dad would buy, because that's a deer hunting vehicle, and those tires and all that. Yeah, he knows how to create a deer hunting machine. So anyway, that's happening now, and like I say, now it's fun. I mean. And it's rightfully so. And my wife used to think, I started getting excited about, geez, I got to do this to get ready, and I got to buy this and that. And she might look at me and shake her head, but she knows from this time until I get home from deer hunting this November, it's going to be mostly deer hunting and writing about it and thinking about it and preparing the things I need, and we're buying them to hunt. And that's the fun part, really. And so, hey guys, enjoy it now. Be excited. Talk about it. If you get somebody shaking their heads in your house when you start doing, you got to train them into knowing, well, that's the way it is, this is the way it's going to be now until late November, and maybe even well after that. We get nothing to do, but might as well just, accept it. That's the way it's going to be. And in fact, my wife, she decided she was going to take in part in everything I did before and after deer season, but she didn't go during the hunting season. When I first met her, she didn't like guns. The sound of gunfire scared the daylights out of her, so she wouldn't come. Well, finally I taught her to be an excellent shot with a pistol for protection when I'm not there at home with her, and she was really good at that, so got over that part. And same with hunting and scouting and all the research I did over the years. She always wanted to be with me, and she became very good at it, and she could enjoy her photography. And this new book here, this book has hundreds of her photos in it. The photos she took that are in this book while she was with me during all those sessions of scouting and doing research. So she enjoyed that, and she did a good job of it, you'll see in this book. But anyway, it's time, guys. It's time to be thinking about deer hunting and enjoying getting ready. And don't leave it till the last minute. You're missing out on one of the best parts of deer hunting if you do. So, yeah, another thing I'm going to buy, in fact I already got one pack, is fluorescent tacks. Yeah, I learned long ago. I use a lot of fluorescent. You can imagine every year we're marking trails to new stand sites, because the best stand sites for taking older bucks are stand sites never used before. But they got to be close to where trails or sites where bucks are frequented right now. I mean, you just don't go out in the woods any old place. Oh, I've never been here. That isn't going to work. But in the right place, never used before, are the most productive of bucks stand sites for taking older bucks. But so we're always making new ones. So I always use a lot of fluorescent tacks to mark trails, so I can get there in the dark, early in the morning, or come back to camp after sunset, with my flashlight. Those fluorescent tacks light up like Christmas tree bulbs along the trail. You just can't get lost when you mark your trails with those things. They put those tacks on tree trunks sort of low to the ground, not way up here, because you don't want the beam going all over the place. You want it down. But they'll light up like Christmas tree bulbs all the way. No chance of getting lost when you got those things out there in the woods, helping you to get back and forth to deer camp. So I buy a lot of those. I'll be buying a whole bunch of those soon. In the next week or two, I will have my season supply of those tacks. And because, like I say, they go, if you wait till the last week, you won't find them anywhere. I have trained a lot of hunters to use them, and a lot of hunters use them, and to their great advantage. So if you don't do that, you better think about it. You learn all about that, like in my new book, all about using tacks. And I'll tell you what, I have spent, of course, I've got car payments now, but I have spent quite a lot of money this year so far to get ready to go deer hunting. And the cost of one of these books is just negligible compared to all I've spent. And yet, all those things I spent wouldn't be worth beans if I didn't know what was in that book. It wouldn't change my hunting luck at all, spending all that money. You can get ATVs and snowmobiles, all kinds of things. You know, big OHVs, you know, 4-passenger with a top on them, and all. You can buy all those things. It isn't going to change things at all. Being able to drive one of those way out in the woods somewhere along some forest trail, that's not going to change things at all because everybody else is going to do that too. Where it does change things is out there where nobody, hardly anybody goes, because it's away from roads and trails. Where the only trails in the woods are made by deer. That's where it really makes a difference. And you might have to walk more than you care to get to where you're going to stand hunt each year. But that's where you're going to take big bucks. You see? But none of those things will help you. If you don't know what's going on right now in the woods, and don't know how to read deer signs, don't know how to recognize a mature buck stand site, things like that, none of those things are going to make a difference. And the more you ride, the more you stink of exhaust fumes and oil fumes from your vehicle, you know, and then all you really stink out there, and another strong and strange odor that tells deer that, oh, and not only an airborne odor, but your trail scent odor as well. That's a human, and he's just been here, and he went that way, and things like that. They know that. They just from those odors. But anyway, this is just a little extra, very little extra expenditure that will pay out so greatly. And so, don't be afraid to spend that money. That's the best money you'll spend on deer hunting. You know, here I am, 85. My dad quit hunting at age 72. My mother talked him into it. Too old, you shouldn't be out there anymore. My wife probably would be giving me that kind of trouble now too if she was still alive. But maybe not. She knows me. She knows I'm in really good shape yet, even at my age. And I work hard to keep my body in good shape, hike a lot, things like that. But here on the cover is me. 3 years ago now. I just came out on the roughest trail, imagine big steep hills and just thick cover and really deep snow. We had a snowfall that was hip deep that year. And right here it kind of packed down, the wind is kind of blowing this kind of area down here after 3 days later. But I just came from, and it was cold and windy that day. We had a northwest wind and I faced that wind all morning, from the half hour before dark until I finally decided to come down here. And my son John, it was late. I usually am back at camp by 11, or between 11 and 12, but it was after that. John was starting to worry about me. So he said maybe he should go up there and check on him. So he started up there, he started up the trail, and here I came. And he took a picture of me, and there I am coming down after a really miserable day in the woods in deep snow. I didn't see a deer that day. It's kind of day that they wouldn't be moving much anyway, but you hunt anyway. You know, you don't get to hunt, pick and choose a lot of times. You have to do your best under the circumstance. But there I am. And I'm still walking everywhere. And now I'm 85, and look at me. You know, I'm in good shape. And I'm going to be hunting. I'm all excited about this. You know, that's the thing about deer hunting. I started when I was 10 years old. Once you learn about it and you get to be good at it, it's a lifetime sport. You'll never stop. And it's a good, healthy sport. And venison, if you do things right, it's delicious. And it's fairly fat-free compared to domestic meats that you buy, pork and beef and whatnot. It isn't all marbled. That doesn't matter. It's still up. Last year, our deer were eating acorns, and we got a good acorn crop again this year. Deer eating acorns are so delicious. They're really good eating deer. So, boy, I just couldn't get enough venison. I made chili. I made stew. I had steaks. We had sausages. We had all kinds of Polish sausages made. I ate every scrap of that. I used it one way or another in different ways this last winter, and it didn't last long. My half of my deer that I got. So, but it's still fun to me. It's as fun as it's even more fun than when I was 10. I didn't know what I was getting into then, but I got 3 deer that year. Can you imagine that? 10-year-old snot, you know, out there with this little brand new 94. Model 94 Winchester with 30-30, and I got 3 deer. Should have gotten 4. But anyway, it hasn't stopped. Here it is 75 years later, here almost, in that picture, and I still love it. So, you know, it's not because killing deer is what makes it fun for me. It's hunting deer that makes it fun for me. I love to hunt deer, and I'm good at it, and so are my 3 sons. And I want you to be just as good, if not better, because you got more deer where you hunt than we do, and you probably don't have any wolves where you hunt to boot. And so your odds of taking bigger bucks are much better than our odds. And yet, my 3 sons and I have taken 105 mature bucks since 1990. That's great buck hunting anywhere. So, there you go, guys. Well, guys, you know, which reminds me, I got another big expense coming up. You can't believe how close we are to being sold out of this book right now. And, you know, we're expecting sales like last year starting right about now. So, I got to put out a lot of money. That's cash on the barrelhead for that, you know, for printing. So I got another big printing express coming up very soon, in a few days. Got to get this order in. And we got these printers that we deal with. They give us they treat us well. We get a quick turnaround time normally. I hope it'll be the same. We just had some bear books done, but we're just about out of these now, again. So another big printing coming up. But so expecting big things from it again this year. Well, with that, guys, enough said. Be sure to poke that subscribe button down below here. Subscribe, please. That's important to me as a YouTube speaker. It's important in my future as on YouTube. So I need people to be hitting that subscribe button. That's important, real important. And also the thumbs up, that's equally important. If you enjoyed what you heard today, poke that thumbs up button as well. That's important too. Do that for me, will you please? As a favor for me. Okay, thanks again, guys, and I'll see you again soon. Be sure to visit my website. Here's the link. Here you'll find links to my blog posts, my Twitter account, my YouTube account, my Amazon store with links to my ebooks, my son's eBay store, a money saver if you're ordering from Canada or other countries, my website bookstore, and much more.